Hello and welcome to Zeta Chivalry to Survival Runs. Today's map is Coxwell and I'm playing with a Spear and Shield. Straight out the bat, the Spear and Shield combo is very good in survival in terms of that shield in the offhand often blocks arrows, thrown objects and even ballista shots. Otherwise, the Spear itself, it lacks some damage against multiple opponents. So against two it's fine unless they're surrounded, unless they have you surrounded. But if there are more than two enemies, then it's really terrible. Because the stabs do not, it's possible to drag the stabs to the side, but not as much as normal swing. Without further ado, let's go on the run itself. So immediately you need to know that a normal normal stab from under the hand delivers 40 damage. Whereas the heavy variant delivers 60 damage. The overhead, sort of not the overhead, but actually the stab at around head level delivers 50 damage and 70 damage if that's a heavy hit. What that means that basically if you're using heavy stabs or light stabs but from the head levels, that means that you'll be delivering more damage. This is important because otherwise you might not deliver as much damage to the enemies. Again, not sure why the one under the hand is weaker, but just saying this is how it is in Chivalry. So it's good also to alternate and also spam and all those feints, stab into alternative stab and etc. And that usually catches people off guard. Also have in mind that folks do not particularly play against spears often, because spears are not that often seen on the fields of Chivalry. For this reason, folks are unfamiliar about the way this weapon works, at least not much familiar. The familiarity is lacking. So this is probably the greatest advantage. Also, the range. It does deliver very good range. You can always and quite often cancel charging enemies because of the range. Other than that, again, the swings are not existent, so if you do the swing, you would simply stab and have this in mind. So in a sense, countering the spear is a bit easier than it is for other weapons, because you just, most of the times, you just need to counter stabs. So, but again, folks that are unfamiliar with it and are usually used to countering weapons that do only left mouse button spam, these folks will have trouble. Now also it is important if you fight 1 against 2 to alternate between the targets. So once you block from one enemy, you focus your hit on the other enemy. So this is the mechanic of 1 against many, because the enemy that is not hitting you is not expecting that you will target him. So this is probably the thing you should know when you're fighting 1 against many, like I showed few times in this run already. So yeah, other than that, we already moved past this objective and I need to go forward. There is a, you can see 2 ballistas on the wall. This is a minor issue if you have a shield. You have to have in mind that you always your shield should be facing the ballista. You don't need necessarily to brace it, but just your side should be on the ballista. I'm trying to find the shield and I'm not able to. That's unfortunate for me, so I'll sort of do the more risky approach and try to go to the wall, ignoring the ballista shots. What I mean ignoring, still have to do a lot of strafing, but that's general in every game. If you don't want to be sniped, you have to strafe. And yeah, my reach allows me to hit the objective and at the same time not to get hit by the friendlies that are exactly next to the gate and just damaging it. It is important. Also I can, dodge most of those barrels and it's those that are falling down from the gatehouse. Also really interesting animation whenever the special of this class is being thrown and you have a mug in your hand, which is quite helpful. So in a sense your jab is a bit faster, and yeah, the wonky animation of healing folks. But if possible, we need to find a shield ASAP, because it delivers more survivability. So I healed up and then just going onto the ramp. And I have a shield, as I said. It is important to have more survivability instead of, you know, having some novelty item. Hitting from behind always helps, and that's regardless of the class. But yeah, it helps if you are somewhat, your sides are protected by friendlies. Also, jabbing and dodging back or to the side is an important mechanic, but that's probably for every weapon. Which spear it also shines. And since you deliver damage, and then just simply walk back or jump into the distance where you are relatively safe against other enemies. Well, this is quite a popular ammo crate, and unfortunately it's no longer usable for some time. It has to reset. But there are plenty on this map anyway. I saw on the right side there's quite a few enemies just charging in, and there's absolutely no need for me to engage and probably die to those 5 people charging on the right side. Instead I went back to the camp, or closer to the spawn, waited for our spawn wave to come, and then I can engage, folks. Not really sure why this enemy decided to hold the block, and then at the very last second he decided to remove the block, and that way letting me score a hit. With drags I was able to hit 3 objectives, barricades at the same time, which is quite cool. But yeah, additional points, again, nothing more. So yeah, all those duels are quite okay. Again, folks not very used to playing against spears, and there is general dislike of people who use spears. Not as much as archers, but you know, they are in a strong second place. Because yes, it's pretty hard to fight against spears if you're not familiar. But if you are familiar and you are able to counter, then the distance is not a problem. So the mechanic is, if you counter the hit with your weapon, then you're not knocked back by the hit. But if you don't counter the hit and just block, you will be countered back somewhat, and if you have a short range weapon, you'll never get in range of folks that have a longer reach. So for example, spears or halberds and so on. Have this in mind, so countering is important. And this weapon counters swings by just left mouse button. So in a sense, with a stab it counters spears too. With a stab it counters swings too. So it's easier to do counters with spears because of its limited moveset. Also, when dancing around fighting against the enemy, be careful not to hit friendlies. It does not deliver as much damage, but very often your hit will not go through the friendly. That means that you won't hit the enemy. So this is the mechanic, and I completely understand why it was introduced. Otherwise folks just stand behind their friendlies and from the second line abuse the reach of the spear, and it will be really impossible for anybody to defend against that. It's alright, scored a quick kill and decided to move back. And now again I see that we're almost done with this objective. That means we have to prepare for the new one. But need to get rid of the stragglers first. On the right side there's quite a few stragglers, and we'll try to take care of them. Quite successfully, I might add. So yeah, enemy with a execution axe already running out of stamina. However, I did not pursue because I received 1 hit. And the one to, you know, try my luck at the moment. Still can get other kills without a problem. So yeah, I decide to do a forward spawn for the sole reason that I need a bandage and also a shield, a smaller shield. Basically it's quicker if you throw it, it delivers more damage. Yeah, I know there is a one hanging item just over my head, and that's why I don't want to engage that too much. Instead I dispatched of 2 enemies and joined the fray on the right side. So don't be afraid to rotate from one side to the other if you're trying to do survival. More important to, you know, fight on the battlefields where you can win, and try to get away from the places that actually are quite dangerous for your survival streak. So yeah, it's heavily contested, right side, but that's actually helpful. I can deliver a lot of hits, but this time, unfortunately, my hits do not land. Or except they do land, but on friendlies. So this is unfortunate. I have to deal with that. But at the same time, you know, maybe this is not the right side. I need to push, but friendly spawn wave. Just push through the gates, so I can join two. Immediately saw two enemy Agathians. One decided to heal on the open field and dies. The other received a hit from me and died too. So it's important to go from the sides. It's easier and quicker to dispatch of the enemies if you actually in tandem with friendlies. Again, not really sure how this guy with a halberd did not land a hit on the enemy. It was so low. But I did. The stabbing is okay again. You have to drag. That delivers usually more damage. So guys try to feint, no problem. You see that it's quite easier with a spear to deliver more damage. But you have to have an avenue to escape. And also you have to ensure that you are not running out of stamina, because all that hitting and dashing really burns through the stamina quite quickly. So you're not suffering loss of stamina due to blocking the hits, because you have a shield. So shield HP is used instead of your stamina. However, you do lose a lot of stamina on all those dashes. So have this in mind, because once you run out of it, you can't do any more dashes. Other than that, it's all about timing and trying to hit enemies more times than they hit here. So we are on the penultimate objective. Basically, we need to get some gold and steal it. But this is very hard to defend on this stage, unless you like super stacked team. So usually defenders are not defending this side anyway. We're almost halfway through the objective, and that's helpful. But again, there's quite a few enemies in the middle, and we have to get rid of them before we can proceed. It's not always easy to get rid of the enemy. Especially friendlies are not always helping. Sometimes they are not helping and instead making the situation worse. However, you have to dance around friendlies and enemies if you want to deliver a hit. But you have a plus that your stabs do not really damage friendlies so much and can fit in a small space. Now, after receiving a headshot from a warbow, decided it's not worth the risk and decided to go back and replenish my HP. Again, it is important if you want to do survival runs to go back whenever you need to heal, and heal in a safe spot, like me here close to the spawn. Otherwise, it is risky and you might receive an arrow in your back, or you will be a bit more stationary whenever you do heal. So don't heal in open fields. I already sent few folks that were healing on open field to the spawn point. So don't be those guys. Again, it's quite important to go around the enemies, so you make them nervous. They're not sure what to defend. This is the sole benefit of surrounding the enemies. They do not know what to block, because the block is not omnipresent and does not cover 360. After you deliver a lot of damage, it's quite important to also look at the objective and see where it's going, and it's not going really well. So though I said that it's really tough to defend on this map and this stage in particular, it's pretty hard to participate in the fight with this weapon due to lack of its presence on the field and lack of general mass murdering skills due to lack of swing. So it's 10 seconds left, we're almost there, but alas, this is not going to happen. 39 kills on my tally, so it is quite substantial with this weapon. However, we are losing this one. No matter, the opponent team was very proficient, but I had fun and I hope you enjoyed it too. Thank you for watching, see you next time.